All right, we are in record mode and welcome. It's Chrissy again, and this is the first fifth Tuesday of 2021. And if you're watching this in replay and haven't been part of the Holistic Healing Circle, that might not mean too much to you, but to us here at the Holistic Healing Circle, the fifth Tuesdays means I get to interview a guest and have a conscious conversation with someone that I know, that I have witnessed, been in support of, have been in awe of what I see them doing in the world, and just have an open conversation about how they have come to realizing the more that's available to us that lies behind these seen realms and the unseen realms, and how that has impacted their life, what kind of path they have chosen, how they show up in a day-to-day life experience, especially going through the shifts in uncertainty and changes that we've been experiencing here over the past year. How do you live these principles day in and day out? And how does it benefit you? Why do you do this? How has it impacted your life? So with the Healing Circle, we are focused on the 12 levels of holistic restoration. And the whole intention behind this process is to help you to get reconnected to the wholeness that you are, the wholeness that each individual is on their own, and also the wholeness of this entire unfolding that we're a part of as we go through our life experience. So I share all the tried and true ways that I go through my day-to-day experiences, where I can stay grounded, focused, intentional, showing up the way that I desire to show up, and having the experience that I desire most to have, and how I can take this extremely overwhelming life experience, because I find life to be very overwhelming. How can I relax into it? How can I reduce the overwhelm? And tapping into this holistic way of living has just radically changed the way that I experience my life. And along the way, I was able to meet Bennett and Sonia. And I don't know if you want me to call you Alicia or Sonia. I know you as Sonia. I know you as Alicia.
Sonia.
So I first met Alicia and Bennett, and later on was introduced to Sonia's ability to come through with powerful messages in the world. But when I first met them, I was supporting them and figuring out their next steps and taking their message that they have on their hearts, and the work that they feel called to do in the world, and to bring it out to others. And over the past couple of years, I've watched that develop. I have learned so much more about all the gifts and talents that these two individuals bring to the world. And when I thought about who would I want to have a conscious conversation with, who do I want to sit down and find out and have shared with all of you watching here live and in replay, the work that you do and the way that you live your life is not like everybody that I meet. So I appreciate y'all taking the time to share with us more of how you approach life and how you are taking your inspirations and bringing them out there to the world. And that really is the heart of the conversation and the question that I have for you to get things started. So this is your platform to share however it is that you want to share. I would love for you to be able to share with us a little bit about your journey on how did you start to realize that there was something more that was happening, and what were some of the first steps that you took, and where eventually did that lead you to?
Well, okay. Uh, to to try to make a relatively concise response, uh, I I my earliest memory of being here alive, I was always interested in who and what are we, what's possible, and regardless of all the iterations my life has taken so far, that has been the overwhelming driver, if you will, of my life. What kind of laid the seed for what I'm doing was a vision that I had when I was very young, 5, 6, perhaps, 7, where I was in a room with Jesus and I knew him. I knew him like I would know you to see you in a place, not like, oh, you must be so and so. We knew each other, and I ran up to him and as the little boy, and he picked me up, and we went flying around the world. And we never completely landed, but we would come very close to the surface. And when we did, there'd be different groups of people praying. And what I recall is a little bittersweet laugh and him saying they don't understand me. And that has stayed with me throughout my life. And it's taken me on many a journey. I am a teacher, a spiritual teacher. I teach spiritual awareness through theater. I'm a theater person. I'm a musician. My journey took me. I was a performer on Broadway. Brought me out to Southern California. We have a great love story about how we've reconnected. Really up here in Mount Shasta, and my journey is about understanding and disseminating information for freedom. And in doing so, understanding that we truly are evolving into a different dimensional perspective, and that we will continue to have a lot of issues if we stay attached to the overwhelming programming of what it is to be a three-dimensional creature. So what's been with me all my life are visions, are awarenesses of a different way of being. And I call it a quantum reality. My business is Sacred Inner Theater because I see any and all things as theater. So I approach my days, and not D-A-Z-E, although sometimes it feels that way. I approach it, each one, with the awareness of moving more and more into alignment with what I perceive as all there is. And I think you get to a point where you cross an invisible line. Maybe it's not even that invisible, where you say, you know what, I really believe in all this stuff I'm talking about. I really believe in spiritual realities, that we are all energy, that we do have the opportunity to be truly transformational and limitless within our seemingly mortal coil. And I think a lot of us, we know these things intellectually and so forth, but you get to a point where you say, you know what, this is my truth, regardless of what contrary realities may present themselves to me. So each day, I approach each day with a bit stronger vision and commitment to the uniqueness of myself and the uniqueness of each person. And I measure what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, how I'm responding to whatever comes before me. Am I doing that in a spirit of openness, of love, or am I referring back to some old patterns? And it's a day-to-day journey. And if I can share one thing before I give it up to my beloved, there is a question that comes up a lot for me in any situation, which is what would love do now? And sometimes that stops me in my more egotistical tracks, and I have to I have to stop and backtrack a little bit. So this is, in essence, with theatrical disciplines, this is what my work is about and what I do.
I love everything that you said, and thank you so much. I know sometimes when asked a big open-ended question like that, it's like, where do you even begin? And especially when you've really saturated yourself in this way of being and living, you kind of lose track of where you end and it begins, or how it all got started to begin with. And I think that you summarized that very, very nicely for such an open-ended question. And you hit on several things, but a few things in particular that are like, this is exactly the reason that I asked y'all to have this conversation and why I had this desire to have this conversation on the fifth Tuesdays throughout this year. And I'm already getting the little inkling that I might be doing these more often. So I just really enjoy this. A couple of the things that you said in reference to our 3D physical experience in this world, and that really sparked in my mind that we are in the process of, y'all hear it in the healing circle all the time. If you follow anything that I've been doing over the last year, you've heard me say it many times, but we are in the process of bringing forth a new world. And that doesn't necessarily mean the way that our human minds envision a new world coming about. It is more of an individual responsibility to help to bring this through by how we decide to show up in this world, and how it is that we decide to interact with one another, and who it is that we decide we're going to be, and what's acceptable for us, and what we require, and what we speak up for. This whole going back to really embodying this freedom that we have, and the power that we have as individuals coming together collectively. It's going to be us that changes this world. So you also, I love how one of the ways that I have always felt very connected when we've worked together over the years is your love for theater. And what helped me so much was looking at my life. Like I'm the main character in this ongoing theatrical production that happens on this 3D realm. And I just have to go through the motions, learn the parts, get to know the characters, go beyond what's scripted, evolve my character if I want their character to evolve. And it's been super helpful to help me to not take things so personally, and to kind of settle into my role and also understand my non-role. And so I love that you bring that up, and that's a big bulk of the work that you do. It's not just about teaching people theater, it's about helping them to understand the power that they have within their own day-to-day life in order to break out of how you're used to being or used to interacting, or is common within our society, because that's the old world that is dying away. And in order to really be great stewards of this new world, I believe it is going to take that continual asking of the question that you pose: what would love do now? And that is, I'm sure anybody in the realm of Christianity, or on the outskirts of it, have heard that. What would Jesus do? I think that's a powerful question, and can be a very powerful question. But for me, it also hit home by changing it to love. What would love do? And I started asking that in my life. I started asking that in regards to myself, to my work, to my family members. I mean, just all the time. How would love respond in this moment? What action would love take right now? And I invite anyone who isn't already practicing that, take that into your day-to-day life, try that out for you, and see how you can challenge yourself to redefine the characters in your world, to have a more compassionate, fulfilling, and enriching experience. I think there's a lot of success podcasts out there, and a lot of interviews of people that have this ideological idea of success. And to me, this is what success is being able to live into a more rich, compassionate experience with one another. And I think that we need to hold ourselves in regards that doesn't measure up in those material ways, as much as really understanding this is the richness of life. This is the secret to it, in my opinion, so far. This is what has started to make it really, really good. And perhaps the rest comes down the road, but it's not those outside things. And I think that that's something that a lot of us are, of our current generation, of way showers, is learning how to help to redefine that, so that we can move beyond these illusions of what fulfillment looks like, what happiness looks like, what having a successful business looks like, and into understanding the power of being here is your day-to-day, moment-to-moment experience. And the more that you can welcome in that bigger picture, the more that you can ask, what would love do? To me, that's how you find the success, the richness, the fullness. It's in those moments. And if we're constantly trying to get those outer movements right, and we're not taking a look at that internal theater, we're not taking a look at not embracing our uniqueness or recognizing the uniqueness of others, so well said. I think that that's where we miss out, and that's where we have limited experiences. And in times like now, where we are having some of our freedoms limited that we're used to having in our life, if you've been on this planet for a while, things have been different over the past year. And when we cannot control those things, this is where I find it very advantageous to really sink into, because I believe if we were to all sink into this, we can change that physical to make it whatever we want it to be. And yeah, thank you for all of that.
Sure.
So Sonia, similar question. I know that we are a little bit limited for our time. So I want to make sure that you are able to share what's on your heart as well. So wherever you feel guided to share about you, your journey, anything that you would love to extend an invitation around. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm so happy to be here, and I feel so blessed to be here with you and your audience. And so what I would say about my journey is I pretty much checked out in the crib. And I was a very sensitive child. I would say I was the black sheep of the family. And growing up in a violent home, I realized at a young age that had no connection to my emotional body. And I turned to drugs and overdosed, and eventually went into psychology, which led me into a mystery school with a shaman for 18 years. And that led me into another school where I worked with the masters for a number of years. And ultimately, it was all about finding who I was. How I felt like I was a prisoner in my own body, and I didn't know how to get out of it, and I didn't know how to express myself. I found that I was a chameleon in life. I just mirrored everyone else, and that pretty much put them on edge, because most people don't like what the mirror says to them. So and along the way, because of the drug use, I contracted a deadly virus, which I suffered with for 40 years. And when I finally got a medical healing, I knew that I was just going to create something new, because that was my pattern in life. Instead of people punishing me, I punished myself. And so I created illness. It was also a way of protecting myself. And so I live in Mount Shasta, and I went up to the mountain and to some sacred land that we love. And I got down on my knees and I prayed. Well, actually, before I started praying, I took full responsibility for everything that I've created in life. And I prayed to Divine Mother to please help me stop creating illness in my life. Please help me stop living this life of pain and suffering. And so when I finished my prayer, I heard her say, "Your prayer has been heard." And I went home and I had a 3-day purging. And shortly thereafter, I started receiving what I call the Christ codes. And I started seeing language in a new way. And um, several, I don't know, 7 or 8 years before that, I started working with a spiritual group. I call it a triad. And I was sent into the Metatron cube, and I was shown that the mind of God, Goddess, was bringing a new language that was going to burn away the old. And that's basically what the Christ codes do. They're mantras that help shift the frequency, clear the field, burn away the old, and help keep me focused on what I'm really passionate about. So I was dyslexic as a child, so I was really hammered into my head um, like multiple times in like everyday conversation, everyday walk of life, to make sure that I was speaking right, that I wasn't mixing things up. And so was very mental and very controlling in my life. I had to have complete control. And so I find that the codes help me step out of that program. It's been a very powerful program in my life, and the codes, I speak them every day. It's like I religiously work with the codes. They raise my frequency. They help me stay present in the moment and very impassioned about my life, because they just clear the field so that I'm not subjected to the whole mental radio broadcast that's going out on a minute by minute basis. It's like humanity's consciousness is broadcasting fear and pain and suffering. And when I wake up in the morning, because I'm an empath, I can wake up paralyzed in fear because my body is reading the field. And so I have to it took me a while, years, to realize that it wasn't me. That wasn't me that I was experiencing. It was me experiencing the field because I am an empath. And so I have to tell myself that isn't me. And as soon as I acknowledge the fact that it isn't, then the fear goes away. But because I am empathic, I have to set my field and clear my field every day. And so it's a ritual that I do, and it empowers me. It gives me energy. It makes me excited. So I get high on life on the codes. And so that's how I go through my day now. I just I feel like we're in an ascension cycle, and that to actually make that jump with Mother Earth, we have to be vibrating at a certain frequency. And so by speaking the codes every day, I speak them 108 times, if not more. By speaking them, I'm actually raising my vibration, and it incrementally raises every day. So I used to monitor it every day to see what actually is this doing to my field. And I discovered that the codes would hold my frequency at a much higher rate for up to 12 hours, and then I would have to reset the field. But when it dropped, it wouldn't drop down to the place it was. It was always raising up, dropping back, but not as low as before, raising up, dropping back, but not as low as before. And so I feel like I function at a very high level because I am actively speaking the codes which activate Christ consciousness in me. And there's actually been downloads of Christ consciousness with receiving the codes, actually seeing my cells turn into diamond light. And that's what we all are going to be doing. We're all going to be transforming our bodies into light bodies. And I got to visually see that. And as I was receiving the download of the Christ vibration, I actually saw oil squirting out of my body, which was my carbon-based body leaving. It's like you can't live in the same space, right? So what the new energy that was coming in was taking out the old carbon energy, which is a much denser energy. So I hope that answered your question.
beautifully, really beautifully. And I love you both so much. And I love your stories and your hearts. And yes, I think that was fantastic and really gives a great overview of what led you to where you're at and what you're doing. I love the work that you do. I love the way that you incorporate and you honor our connection to nature and Mother Earth and what it is that we're doing here collaboratively together, and how one affects the other, and how powerful that connection is. And I also know that some people watching this and listening to this may have never heard the terms codes before. I know at one point in my journey, someone started talking about codes. I was pregnant with my daughter, and a beautiful friend of mine said, I have these codes that may help to ground her energy and bring her into this world. I'll send them over to you. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is. What code? I didn't understand the word at all. And she sent me these drawings, and she's like, here's the codes. And I'm like, I don't understand these drawings and codes. And eventually I came to realize that if we think about it in terms of computers, we know that we have this interface that we're having right now, but really what's behind all that is a bunch of ones and zeros making it all happen. And whatever you tell that code to do is going to result in what outcome, what interface you're going to have and interact with. So if we think about the energetic codes that make us up on that unseen level behind our interface, codes are a way that the divine communicates to some individuals to pass along messages that help us to tap into those unseen realms within ourselves and start to activate or deactivate or reprogram our own coding that's driving our thinking process, our internal software, basically, our operating system that causes us to have the reactions and experiences and the interpretation of ourselves and life around us. So Sonia hit a point in her journey where she started to receive the information of certain sounds, certain words, the placement of how to use our physical voice in order to program or reprogram or deprogram. And I love the way that you talk about this broadcast, like this mass broadcast of the human consciousness, because I often say that we've been many of us have not been extended the courtesy to recognize the fact that we're energetic beings and that we're empathic and that we're tapped into this frequency that is around us at all time, this collective experience. And part of what we're feeling is ours, but it's also not ours. And the love that we give to ourselves, it comes to us, but it also goes out to everyone. And when you start to understand that connection, then you can wake up in the morning feeling yourself full of dread or fear or depression and say, wow, what an assignment I have right now, or what an interesting frequency I'm tapped into right now. Let me clear it. Let me embrace it. Let me breathe through it. Let me allow this to flow. What can I learn from this? How can I help others heal from this experience that I'm having right now? That's reprogramming your thought process from waking up in the morning full of dread and thinking, this is all on me to face another day, and feeling the weight of the world pressing down on you. When you start to see yourself as this like interpreter for the information and data that's coming in, and then you realize you have the power to shift that program to be one that is a godlike experience, a divine experience in each and every moment. I don't know about y'all watching this, but I'm pretty sure me, Sonia, and Bennett will be doing that as often as necessary and as often as possible, because it aligns with all that stuff that we've been told along the way that's possible for us to experience. And all those things, there was a commonality between listening to your stories, thinking about my own story. For Sonia, you asked directly for some assistance. And Bennett, I don't know if you had that time that you were asking directly, but what I took from your story is that you began seeking it, which is the same thing as asking for it. And I
Mhm.
got chills all over my body just seeing those two things. And we probably all heard that passage from the Bible. Seek and ye shall find, ask and it will be given to you. And this is the the process that I hear over and over again. I dove into the hero's journey in this really great video series that I did with my friend Joy, and we just picked apart each part of the hero's journey and had an in-depth conversation around it. It's a really great series. I need to put it out there and highlight it a bit more. But we also identified, Bennett, you spoke of this, there's a part of the hero's journey of crossing the threshold. And you
Exactly.
mentioned that invisible line that shows up in your life where you say, I can't believe and know everything that I know and not live in accordance to that. I have felt it on spiritual levels for myself and compassionate levels, like what character I'm going to allow to come through and what one is outdated and no longer needed. And also on physical levels, like eliminating sugars from my diet once I saw how much they interfere with my spiritual connection and my mental and cognitive abilities and my emotional body. So yeah, and there's been times throughout my business journey that I remember being like, you know what? I don't even buy my own bullshit anymore. Like I can't even hear myself say this again in my own mind. I'm not dealing with it anymore. And then I would show up and do something different or let something go or finally take action on something. So yeah, y'all just hit so many nails on the head, and I can already tell we're gonna have to have like more conversations to dive into all these little highlights along the way. But any other thoughts before we open it up and see if Linda, who's here live with us, Miss Linda, if you're around, if there's any questions or.
I have one thing that, of course, we could spend days on, but I feel that along with crossing the threshold, one of the biggest challenges that I've experienced, and I seem to see in a lot of other people, is accepting the fact that you really are magnificent,
Mhm.
and that who and what each one of us is, it is really infinite. They're not just great words to say, they're not just exalted thoughts to have. And for me, a significant part of my journey is really being able to internalize the fact that uh, I am all that, and that everyone, every being is all that, because second, our first major concept is that we really aren't separate. So those are some of the guiding drivers for my own evolution and what I teach. And I find that they continually redefine themselves as we go forth.
Yes, I love it. You know, we spoke about the 3D world, and I haven't talked about the different dimensions in a while, but just to give a little breakdown, the 3D world, the way that I describe it, is this material physical world. In the 3D world, it's one or the other. You're either magnificent and special and unique, or everybody's magnificent and special and unique, which means you're not. It's one or the other. And then in 4D, you start to realize, well, wait a minute, I am special and unique. And if you don't see yourself as special and unique, you're wrong. So you still have that division that occurs. And then when you step into the 5D consciousness and above, it's understanding I am special and unique, and I am not special and unique, because we are all special and unique, which makes us all special and unique, which therefore I am, and I'm also not. You're both things all at once. You can't be one or the other. It's where you step into that fullness. So yeah, you lose the specialness and uniqueness of your own self, but you get to step into the wonder of how we are all special and unique. And you can approach each and every single challenge that sits in front of you, be it getting out of bed, choosing to wash dishes or follow through with responsibilities, or, dealing with difficult people. You can embrace that and bring that in. And I have to totally agree that is a pivotal place where it all begins to change. If you can dare to imagine that you are here for a bigger purpose, bigger reason, have more within you, which doesn't mean that more is required of you, although more is going to be required of you. It just means that you are, it's if you could dare to step into a bigger story about yourself, that you matter that much. Show up like you matter, like it matters that you show up, and how you show up matters. Yeah, I think that's a pivotal start. And I've heard it said, I was just recently on one of Sam Tripoli's podcasts. He's a LA-based comedian that I'm a fan of. And I got to see him when he was here in Raleigh a few weeks back, and I got to meet him, got to be interviewed on his spiritual podcast, Zero, which you can find on Rockfin, for anybody watching this that's interested. But Sam, he has several different podcasts, but he started his spiritual one because he believes that's like the fundamental thing that comes back around, is that we've been denied being told how special we are. So he interviews different people like myself. He'd probably love to have Sonia and Bennett on there too. That have a story to share on how we can step into this specialness and what that means about us. And no matter what history you look at, it all comes down to how special and unique we are. So what are we going to do about it? How we're going to show up? It's going to directly affect your day-to-day life experience, which is what birthed forth the Healing Circle, and it's what birthed forth these Christ codes that Sonia was so obviously meant to share with the world, and brought forth this love of theater and this connection to this quantum theater that Bennett has such a deep connection with. So yeah, I would definitely say for anybody watching this and listening, if you can walk away with one thing, dare to imagine how magnificent you are and what that can mean about your life. Linda, do you have anything, not to put you on the spot, but I know you're great at handling being put on the spot. So if you're still here, we'd love to have you chime in. And you're muted right now, but we can see you back on video.
There we go. I only clicked on one box instead of both. So can you give an example of what this code looks like or sounds like, and how does it compare to speaking in tongues, something that's taught a lot in Christian churches?
Well, it's actually a language that was given to me. So it's not like I channeled it in, but I actually use it very consciously. So the first code that came in is sounded out as Ak, Imu, Ovi. And it represents basically creative Christ consciousness that I am embracing through self-mastery, aligning with my mastery, and as a whole receptive divine being to my divine genetic blueprint. I mean, that's basically it, kind of in a nutshell, what it's saying. And so when you speak it, it's like you are claiming your divinity, you're claiming your alignment, your mastery, your creative Christ consciousness. And when you claim it, it clears the field of everything that's not that. And so I actually sing that code. I made a little song to it. and I say it all day long. I mean, I do it when I'm doing my yoga practices. I have an energization exercise that I do, that I silently speak the code. There's also a numerical aspect to it, which actually is like a radio broadcast to your cellular DNA. So the codes themselves are aligning you with the greater being that you are. And the numerical aspect of it is like the radio frequency that takes it right into your cells. So it's like clearing the field, take it into your cell. Align with the energy, take it into your cell, into your cells. And so there are, that's the main mantra that I use. So it's like, it's like getting high on life kind of frequency. And I love it. It gives me energy. I used to sleep, when I was super sick, I was sleeping 18 hours a day. When I got a little bit better, it was 12 hours a day. Now I sleep 4 to 6 hours a day. I wake up with energy. I'm excited about life. And I never could do that before. And the codes keep me energized and happy. And just really focused on why I'm here and aligned with my core, you know, if you want to say that. And then there's chakra codes that anchor me, align the chakras. They actually reset your meridian points. So it's like get a body tune up every time you say them. And then there's 7 more mantras that are connected to the elements. And I use those mantras to actually clear the energy that comes up from speaking the other 2 codes. Because we're clearing the field. You're actually clearing your chakra system. I was shown on the inner that the codes are actually, clearing out that whole channel. So I had like living tissue coming out my crown chakra and coming out my root chakra, clearing the whole field so that the new energy, the new Christ vibration can come in and you can embody it then. Because that's what ascension is really. It's about embodying that Christ consciousness. And it's a much higher vibration, and we have to clear out the old. So like his teachings about, you can't put new wine into
old wine sacks. Yes.
Yeah, because it'll just spoil it, right?
Right.
So we actually have to clear out the old junk before the new frequency can sit in us, so that we can embody it. So so it's more of an intentional language, and I actually create other mantras through my intention. I've learned how to like take the essence of the codes and speak like a new language. And so I am gifting the codes away at this point because they're a gift to me, and I feel like they belong to humanity. They're not mine. So I am gifting them away at christcodes.com, and I'm just sharing the mantras for each level, and I give you audio tracks of how to sound them out. And I also have a monthly healing circle where I demonstrate how to put them into action in your life.
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
About the codes in relationship to speaking in tongues, because I've done both. The speaking in tongues are, in theory and practice, they are a spontaneous response of energy coming through you to express a certain kind of relationship or a certain kind of experience, where the codes are very specific frequencies that are designed to, as she was saying, to clear, to align, to bring up things, to heal. They're very specific codes that are repeatable. They're not the result of a spontaneous spiritual experience. They are a practice. They are an extraordinary tool to help you elevate yourself from wherever you are, on many, many, many different levels. But they're very specific rather than a spontaneous one-shot experience.
Yeah,
Kind of
and
two
two things that are coming to my mind that could help to make it more relatable, take it even just another step further, is that I often think of them or find them to be akin of like a mantra that you would bring in. So, or an affirmation, like something that you would turn to say in those moments where you realize, well, I don't want to keep thinking this thought. I don't want to keep acting out this experience. I want to get my mind thought in a different direction. I want to, shift my energy right now in this moment. So we reach for that affirmation or that mantra, very similar to that. And there was a second thing that I was going to say along with that, but now I forgot.
I have a second
come
thing.
back around. Perfect.
I've got something. Although I am the furthest thing from in this conscious awareness about knowing about sacred geometry and all of these things, the universe as we are experiencing it is based on very specific frequencies. It's based on sacred geometry, on special relationships of shapes and sounds. And so what codes can do is and particularly the ones that she's been given them, they tune you into specific mathematical frequencies that already are existing and in the cosmos and in the fabric of who we really are. And so the specificity of what they are, it's kind of like plugging in a plug into a socket in order to make
Or-
something work.
Or tuning in a radio station, maybe.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because, and I was going to add this to what Chrissy was saying earlier. We are, and what you were saying, we are radio stations. we are live broadcasting stations on so many levels. And so part of the genius of what she's bringing forth is they are very, very specific to activate connections, to activate relationships that exist in the cosmos.
That the essence of what you are, they're designed to activate your essence, basically. And there's also geometric, there's also yantras, which are, you would know them as mandalas. I have those also to help open up your soul memory, because we are multidimensional beings and we are living out these programs lifetime after lifetime. And a lot of the times the major thrust of what we're acting out is happening in another life stream. And they're happening simultaneously, in fact. And so it's an opportunity to heal at the soul level, every aspect of yourself that is being lived out in another time, plane, and dimension. It's all happening in the fourth dimension. It's all happening now. And so that's why it's important to be in the now, because we can now really access all of ourselves and integrate it as one body and one consciousness. And so that's really what Ascension is about. It's about coming into mastery, is taking all those aspects and merging them, unifying the consciousness of yourself, so that you're one whole being instead of these different fragments, split off. And we recognize that because we have that in our personality. We have different places of wounding, and we've fragmented our consciousness. And you can look at that as a soul. We have fragmented aspects that we're living out that we need to bring into wholeness. It's the same. It's just a bigger picture of what we're doing here as a one individual life stream.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned activations, because like codes, it was something that I used to not understand. It was like, what's an activation? And it is just like that rekindling, that reconnection, that remembering of your ability to think a different thought, to go in a different direction, to embody what it is that you desire. And we have that ability at any time. And next month, and in April, as we move to the fourth level of holistic restoration in the healing circle, we're going to talk about activate. That's the fourth level. So I'm really excited that this is all, interweaving together. And the other thing that had come to my mind earlier, see, release it. If it's meant to be, it comes right back to you. Is another thing besides like a mantra or an affirmation, another way to relate to these codes. If you think about, I know Linda's familiar with, and somebody else watching us a replay may be familiar with EFT, and using tapping to help to activate and to reprogram and shift your energy in the moment. This is another tool like that. And you can use the codes, you can use EFT, you can use meditation, you can use whatever it is that helps to bring you to your wholeness, back to that bigger story. You have the power. And beautiful people like Sonia and Bennett, and those that are EFT practitioners and meditation teachers, like they are guides to show you a way to do it. So if these codes speak to you, go check them out on Sonia's website. If another way speaks to you, then do that. We're all doing the same thing. Yeah. We're all doing the same thing. And it's not one is right or one is better. It's whatever gets you to be and embody your fullness. It's
Right.
not about what anybody else is doing. It's about what choices you're making in each and every moment. We're
Yeah,
going to
and
add something
I
else, Linda.
believe, yeah, that each person has their own unique prescription of
Mm,
what they need to
Mm-hmm.
accomplish the goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wanted to say that Bennett has helped me a lot in my own growth. I actually take acting classes with him because he helps me to embody what I'm actually doing with the codes. And the things that are coming up for me to heal, I'm acting them out through the acting classes. Things that were, wounds for me. I'm working with monologues that are actually helping me to play out that role that where I was wounded, and to express it through a creative endeavor. And so I just I feel like it's just another avenue for me to uh, express myself and help other people. So I'm actually going to be doing a one woman show where I'm going to be doing little vignettes of moments in my life where I made choices that hurt me, and I'm going to be playing them out so people can have that experience with me and have an opportunity to heal that moment in their life where they might have made that same choice. And so it's a really beautiful way to another way to help actively stimulate someone else's own healing journey.
Yeah, I'd like to add, I call I call my practice Sacred Inner Theater. And it's, yes, there are some people who want to be, quote, actors and perform on the stage. And certainly we cover that. It's more about all of this I see as theater.
mhm.
Every aspect of what we're experiencing, I see, a certain way as an illusion, very seemingly real one, and we're all playing a multitude of roles. And so when I say theater, it can be not necessarily understood in the fullness of the way I intend it. It is a spiritual practice, and ultimately it's all about a connection on a quantum level and being limitless. And I see it as a healing medium, not only for the practitioner, but I envision a day when our energy and our alignment is so elevated that we are healing by our presence. And whether we're interacting just on a day-to-day basis, buying groceries or whatever, or we're actually, those of us that are performers, performing, regardless of what the material may be, the energetic that we've arrived at is so potent that we are broadcasting healing in whatever way it applies. We're broadcasting this to whomever is in our field. And so it becomes a much more elevated aspect of mastery, personal mastery and shared mastery. So that's really what we're doing in our theater acting class.
I love that. I love that. And I've said for a while now that the next wave of healers are going to be actually entrepreneurs. No matter what it is that you're doing, what's going to make us different is that we're going to be brave enough to heal out loud in front of others and understand that through that process, we don't only make our own. I mean, throughout the whole process of holistic restoration, that's the whole point, is how do you make your everyday moment a healing experience, not only for yourself, but for others that are around you as well. Because when you take this on, when you take responsibility for your energy, when you can define your uniqueness amongst the collective, the way that you embody your energy absolutely will aid to your own self-healing, and through that process will allow the space for others to heal as well, and we'll be able to break free of this blame, shame, victimization game that we've been playing here amongst society for quite a while now. And even if it continues on some levels out there in society, we can be free of it, and we can start or continue this shift that's already underway for us collectively and individually. And it's been such an honor to support y'all over the last couple of years. It's always just such a beautiful connection when you find people that do speak the same language. And even though, you know, I don't know all about the Christ codes, because that's something that you, Sonia, had birthed forth, supporting you and getting this work out there, supporting you and having the confidence and the clarity in how to bring this out there to the world. Your trust, I hold very dear to my heart, and I thank you for that, for inviting me into your world so we can be led to having great conversations like this and helping others out there. So if you're new to Sonia and Bennett, where's the best places that they can connect with you too? Because I know Bennett's going to have books coming out, an amazing writer and storyteller. And Sonia, I know you're going to be supporting a number of people as we continue this shift moving forward. Where can they find y'all and connect? Anywhere in particular on the socials, or just
all right, I'm at christcodes.com. I am also on Facebook at christcodes.com. And I also have a Sacred Healing for the Divine Feminine. Well, so if you connect with christcodes.com, you will see links to my other Facebook pages. I am personally wanting to get off of Facebook just because of the way they control the conversation. And they have actually blocked my messages and punished me for what I'm saying. So I am trying to just move everything onto my own website, which again is.
What about MeWe? Because MeWe is a platform that doesn't censor speech.
Right. Yeah, I'm currently investigating other platforms to move to, but for right now, I'm just putting it on my website, christcodes.com. I have a blog post that I post on. I have a media station on there, which I upload my own stuff to, and but you can get all the information you need. You can get off of christcodes.com. And I just wanted to mention, I do have a video series that I just completed to help bring the codes alive, so that you can easily speak them, and you actually let's call it entrainment. You're actually reprogramming yourself back into your own divinity to realize who you are. So I've made a whole video series to help that process and bring the codes alive. But anyway, you can find everything you need about me at christcodes.com.
And
I got to jump off.
Okay. Thanks, Linda, for being here.
Nice meeting everyone.
Nice meeting you. Thank you for being here.
Go ahead.
Well,
Bennett.
I am reprogramming myself as well as everything else. So I'm still on Facebook. I can be reached on Facebook, and
As Bennett Gale?
as Bennett Gale. And the new version of a web presence will be up probably in about a couple months. But I can be reached also at sacredinnertheatre, and that's THEATRE @gmail.com. If somebody wants to inquire about what it is I'm doing at the moment, that's the best way, just one-on-one direct communication.
Perfect. Wonderful. Well, I appreciate y'all so much, and your little kitty is so sweet. I'm going to have to show this video to my daughter because she will definitely want to see that. So yeah, y'all go check out what Sonia has posted with the Christ codes. You can also check out some testimonies, because some people have had amazing healing experiences applying what it is that she teaches, and connect further with Bennett. And yeah, if there's any other questions that come up, drop them in the comments below wherever you find this posted, or hit reply if I send it to you in an email, and we'll get them answered for you. And Sonia and Bennett, I really appreciate y'all waking up bright and early on West Coast time to meet with us, and appreciate everything that you're doing, and so many things that I know we could dive so much deeper into. So maybe we could set up another time to chat if y'all are game for it.
That would
All
be
right.
great.
Sure,
All
absolutely.
right. Well, thanks everybody who is watching us in replay. I am going to end the recording, and I will see y'all next week as we start a new month in the Healing Circle. Bye, y'all.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.